Two Ignorance Podcast.
Welcome to the
What's on, guys? Welcome to the Two Ignorance Shorts. You see, I'm here again, back with your favorite T'Challa informant. We got John Paul back again, for sure. Look at that, man. Yeah, I'm kind of
Already know.
yeah, man. So obviously, I got you on here again. It's to talk about Recast T'Challa, everything, the movement. And I feel like, last time you were here, and I think when you were on the regular pod too, we talked through this stuff, and I'm on the same side. I agree, like we should recast T'Challa. Obviously, it's super easy right now. We've talked about in the past with the variants and just the multiverse. It's really easy to bring another T'Challa in. One thing that I have noticed is that I feel like, and as somebody who's a DC fan, right? So obviously, I'm a DC fan, and I really enjoyed the Snyder Cut. So I saw how that movement progressed.
Yeah, definitely.
From it being this kind of cult group of people who knew what was kind of going on behind the scenes, had heard some information, was, giving that information out. And then I kind of watched as that movement grew, it kind of snowballed. And because there was nobody really at the helm of it to like point to as like the person to represent this, there wasn't really anybody you could go to and be like, hey, get these people under control, or hey, calm people down a little bit. And we saw how kind of out of control some of the Snyder Cut stuff did get, which, and I'm sure you agree with that. It got pretty bad with some people just taking it too far. At the end of the day, it's just a movie. I feel like I'm starting to notice a little bit of that with the Recast T'Challa movement. And it bothers me a little bit, because I think we can ask for a new version of T'Challa without people losing empathy through the whole situation, right? And the key thing about it is when we talk about recasting, obviously from just a logistic standpoint, it's super easy to do, right? Mm. And I know already that, the logical people, at least from the Recast T'Challa movement, that are like, retweeting it every day and stuff like that, like you are. I know when you logically think about it, you're logically considering the crew. And I know I've definitely seen the narrative that, hey, we're not even asking for an immediate recast. It doesn't have to be in this next movie. It can be pushed out, which I think is a big deal. But because of these movements, once they start snowballing and they get expanded out to people who don't have empathy, who don't care at all, I feel like the feelings of the cast and crew is just not being taken into consideration at all. And I wonder how this movement will respond if it doesn't get what it wants. Because at the end of the day, it is down to Kevin Feige and Ryan Coogler and that team to decide if they're comfortable with it, if they want to do it. And I think the thing that's getting lost is that, Chadwick wasn't just the character on screen. He's also a friend to these actors, the crew members, the people he's acting in these scenes with. And he wasn't just like a side actor. Not that would make a difference in, his legacy or how he should be treated. But he's the main dude in the movie. He interacts with everybody, every character, every actor. So they have a different level of respect for him, especially when we saw all his stuff away from the camera, just off the set, that stuff. The love and respect that the crew has for him it seems to be just at a very, very high level. And because of that, it could be really difficult for them to be in scenes with another actor who could be just as great. Don't get me wrong. He could be just as great. But I feel like he could be it could be another great actor in there, and it could still affect the performances of other people, because the whole time it's just a reminder of Chadwick again. And I understand, like, there's a level of, these people get paid, it's a job, there's a business. We want to see this character on screen. He's very important. I agree with all of it. But I want, in the pushing of the movement, for that part not to get lost. And if the crew and the actors and all them decide, we're just not comfortable, we're not past it yet. Y'all might be past it, not say past it, but you guys might have been able to mentally move forward and stuff like that. But for us, it's more personal. This world we built was with him. We're not interested in moving somewhere different with another actor like this. That doesn't mean they couldn't bring T'Challa in somewhere else. And then maybe as they move on into the next phase of whatever, maybe they bring him back down further down the line. But let's assume that, they were planning a Black Panther T'Challa trilogy, similar to like the Captain America one and stuff like that. I just, the way I've kind of seen a little bit of the empathy, I feel like getting, and I want to be clear that I'm not talking about the movement as a whole, and that I'm not talking about, say, you, obviously I got you here. but it seems to be like the fringes of that. And I think the only way to stop that is to get people that are in the movement to be able to call those people out and be like, hey, yo, you're going too far with your request now. Like, that's too far. Yes, you're on our side. Yes, you're saying the things that we want to hear as well, but you're going too far. Do you feel like you've seen any of that lately? Like you feel like you've seen a bit of that?
No, it's kind of hard to say, because like one thing, like we said, like unlike like the Snyder Cut thing, like Recast T'Challa actually does have a central figure. Like,
really,
his name is Emmanuel, also known as E-Man's Reviews. He's a movie critic, and you know, like he often holds lives and spaces, and he tells us like, yo, like stay on message, stay on brand. Like, like if you're telling people why T'Challa should be recast, and you come across like a troll or someone who's just in their own bubble, just won't listen to anything, you know, just move on. Like, don't bother arguing. Like, and I don't know if you already know this, but even Chadwick's own brother came out and said that they need to recast T'Challa, and he believes that Chadwick would have agreed. So that's another.
I get that. No, go ahead.
And the thing is, like, Recast T'Challa, like unlike the Snyder Cut, it's not a demand, but more of a statement. Like, basically, like we are taking into consideration the feelings of the cast and crew, because at the end of the day, like, they knew this guy personally, we didn't. But at the same time, it's like T'Challa, like he's way too big and too important of a character to just shelve forever, especially when his story arc isn't even done. Because like Chadwick Boseman, like he signed all the way on to a Black Panther 3, so that tells me right there he wanted T'Challa's story to play out in full. So, but the thing is, like, with not losing the message, like us in the movement, like we really are aware of that, because like while there also was a tragedy surrounding like the whole Snyder Cut thing, the main difference is that Zack Snyder's daughter wasn't one of the actors in the movie. Chadwick was, and to make matters even more complicated, he played the main character. So like I said, like when we're getting the message out there, we just got to stay positive, stay on brand. Like, don't get into it with people, because all it takes is just one person getting heated, and then they can screenshot it, shot it and say like, see, the whole entire movement is toxic.
And that's what I wanted to avoid here, because I haven't, like I said, I don't think I've seen a lot of it. It hasn't been like this massive thing, but I have seen it little bits here and there, where, and even I'll say it even isn't the most blatant stuff. Like, no one's saying, yo, I don't care how the cast feels. I haven't seen like that blatant, but it's just the way it's kind of being talked about it. It's almost like, yeah, it's kind of dumb if they don't, or there's no reason why. And it's like, yo, there could be a reason. You don't have to agree with it. You can be against it, but they can have their own legitimate reason why they don't want to do it. And it might not be a legitimate reason to everybody else, but it could be for that crew right there. And it doesn't mean, for me, I think the biggest thing is that with the multiverse and the way it is, even if it's not in this trilogy, if they choose to do something different here, that doesn't mean at the end of the trilogy, maybe they put something new in there as maybe this original crew moves on or whatever. And maybe, you know, obviously there'll probably be some crossover characters left from this group, but maybe they'll move on, different director, different whatever. Maybe they'll move into something different. And then that will be a better place where they could do something like that. Cause like I said, like I agree with the message. T'Challa is such an important character. And this is coming from somebody who didn't grow up, you know, reading Marvel comics and stuff like that. Like T'Challa he's a character you know about because he's Black Panther, but he wasn't like this huge character in my childhood where I was growing up reading it. I'm a DC kid. So, but through the MCU and just learning new characters and learning when he was going to pop up, I was like, oh, this is a big character. And you start reading his history and reading his stories, like, yo, there's a lot of things he could do here. But something like this is so out the blue. And I don't know, and I know it's been easier for other people to recast. And I wonder, and this is me kind of taking it a little left, I wonder if some of the emotion surrounding this, and it could be a cultural thing, because I feel like for Black people, when we suffer loss like this, especially when so many people aren't expecting it, I feel like we tend to take it a bit harder. You know, it's not like Chadwick was just like some street dude or whatever, or, you know, it wasn't, and not to say that their life is any less. It's just like, it's not like Chadwick was doing some bullshit. You know what I mean? Like, dude was doing his best with his last days, and he was giving us amazing performances. I can understand how that might weigh really heavy on people. Like, I just can. And it might not work out for what we want to see quickly, but if it doesn't, does that mean that I just don't want to see the movement become toxic because it might not get exactly what it wants immediately. And that's why I kind of made that comparison to the Snyder Cut, not because the situations are, you know, the same, but just because I could see the end result. Because the second WB came out and said, yo, you're not getting a Snyder Cut, the Snyder Cut stuff got even worse. It was bad already, but then it got worse. They got bad. And you had good people in there that were making like sound arguments, but a lot of that was getting washed out because you had so many people who had just decided that, well, the studio doesn't want to listen to us, and we're just going to go full out. We don't care about anything else that's happened. People were taking little bits of half information and trying to use that to justify bullshit arguments. You just see how it can spiral real fast, even if the core has a strong idea of what they're, you know, fighting for. But I do think it's good that you said that. I didn't realize there's kind of a central figure to this thing that at least the logical people are kind of feeding to say like, yo, we're following this message. We're organized. We're trying to be smart about this. I think that is the most positive, because I didn't know that. That's a very positive thing for me.
Yeah, like, yeah, those are some really good points that you made. And like I said, like, another thing about this movement is that, like, a big part of it is that, like, well, you know, people have, ever since they said they wouldn't recast T'Challa, we're all like, oh my God, they could actually kill this dude again, and for good this time. So another thing about the message of recast T'Challa is that, like, we just don't want Marvel to go and monetize Chadwick's death. Like, don't blend real life tragedy with fictional storytelling. Like, even though your intentions may be good, like, if you kill T'Challa in this next movie, regardless of how you see it as paying tribute to him, like, there's no getting around the fact that you're making this man's death a plot point, and that's just like,
True.
no.
That is true. That is true. I do see that side, and that's the side that makes it a tough thing for me. Because I agree that I don't really want them to make it a plot point in the movie. I don't want it to be like this huge thing. But if they are going to kill him, how do they not make it a huge thing in the movie? You know what I mean? Like, how do they not make it a big point if that's how they feel they need to go about it? Not to say that doesn't mean that a variant T'Challa might not come in the future eventually or something like that. But in this movie, if they do decide to say that, you know, this Earth, what is it? Earth 616 is this one's, is this 616?
Well, actually, like, well, technically, like, I keep up with this stuff, and technically the MCU is Earth 1999999.
Oh wow, okay.
Yeah, 616 is the comics. So.
That's the comics. That's what it is. That's why it was in my head. There you go. See, I told you I don't read Marvel comics. But yeah, it's just there's so much open road for this that I just hope that the message can stay exactly how you told me it is, even if things don't go exactly the way we may hope they go, you know, from the jump. And this is why obviously I brought you on to talk about this stuff. There's so many different things. I did see that bit about his brother. I did see that. I wasn't sure if that was like a legitimate thing or not.
No, it's legitimate.
But it
like,
is legit, right?
He actually came out to TMZ and said that.
Okay.
And the thing is, that's actually his second time saying that they should recast him, because, like, the first time it was for this, I think it was some church channel or whatever, but he was interviewed and he said, like, he loved to see T'Challa's story continue, even if it's with a different actor, but he doubted that they go forward with it because, like, well, Hollywood just loves seeing black men as victims, but not as kings. But then, like, a year later, he decided to come out to TMZ and make his intentions clear. Like, yeah, they need to recast T'Challa, and I think my brother would have agreed with this. And
That's
it's
a
like
big thing.
and it and it's like you said with that short with Gerald a while ago. Like, yeah, Chadwick didn't leave instructions behind saying like, "Hey, yo, when I'm gone, do this, this, and this." But in my opinion, it's not like it's about like knowing your family well enough to know what they would have wanted in a certain situation. Like my granddad left some some stuff behind for me when he passed away. Like, yeah, he didn't give me specific instructions on what he wanted me to do with it, but I know he wouldn't want me to do stupid shit with it.
Right. So. No, I agree with that. I agree with that because I don't want it to be a thing where, and especially as a black man that's this prominent in Marvel, you want to see his story continue. I don't think anybody could say against that. Not that we don't have other black characters, but I could see Marvel, and that's where I kind of get to the point of this could be fun. This could be. Oh shit, hold on 1 second. I'll cut this out. I just realized this door is open. I'm getting a lot of feedback.
You good.
But yeah, I'm realizing that what I don't want to happen either is I don't want them to feel like, well, we got Falcon and hey, we're bringing in, OG Captain Marvel that we've seen in the Doctor Strange trailers, and we've got, Maria Rambeau, and we've got all these other black characters that we're boosting up as well. That's dope. That their importance, or whatever you said, their impact shouldn't be based on.
Yeah, don't let it be an either or thing.
Yeah.
So, okay, so we got Sam and we got Monica Rambeau.
Monica. Yeah, and Maria.
I have all the black heroes. Like, let's see T'Challa and Shuri instead of T'Challa or Shuri. Like okay, Sam's getting boosted, so that doesn't mean he'll get undermined if we still have T'Challa. Like, let them both rise up. Let everyone eat.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, and that will be the tricky part for Marvel and Ryan Coogler to handle. I guess the part of me is I feel stuck because while it is something I want and I want to see, and I want to see more of those stories, I mean, Wakanda as a whole, right? Like, that's like, what black person wouldn't want to see more Wakanda and everything? But I guess I struggle because I feel like whatever decision is made, well, obviously, Feige and them would have made decisions, but it also, we also know that he's having those conversations with Ryan Coogler, with Lupita, with the cast and the crew and all that type of stuff. So if they do come to a decision that I don't necessarily agree with, I'd find it hard for me to be overly critical. Even though I agree with everything you're saying, right? Like, I agree with pretty much everything you said, but it would just be tough for me to be like, yeah, but y'all still missed the boat on this one. Because yeah, you did, but I also understand maybe why you missed the boat. You know what I mean? Like, it's not always, yeah, I just missed the boat. Maybe there's a reason I didn't jump on that boat real fast. I might have realized it might be at capacity. Let me not jump on that boat. It just could be a reason, whether I fully agree with it or not.
Yeah. Well, I'll also share another thing with you. Like, Nate Moore, who's the vice president of Marvel Studios, like, he was on the Van Lathan podcast like a year ago, and he said, like, when Van Lathan asked him about T'Challa, Nate Moore said, like, you won't see like the MCU 616 T'Challa again. So basically, like, what he was saying, like, he could have just said, like, nah, you ain't ever gonna see T'Challa again, quit acting. But for some reason, he was just very specific with that MCU 616 thing. So to me, like, he's saying, like, the main universe T'Challa won't be recast, but he's probably leaving the door open for a variant. So basically, he's saying, like, no, this specific iteration of T'Challa that Chadwick plays, it's off limits, but you might see a variant in the future. So
yeah, I just hope they do it well. I think that's my biggest thing. Whatever they choose to do, I hope they do it well. If they do choose to do something with T'Challa we don't like, I still hope it's done well. You could, I don't know. I mean, that's all I can hope for, I guess.
Yeah, as much as I disagree with the decision to retire T'Challa this early in his MCU tenure, at least for now, uh, Ryan Coogler's still a talented storyteller. So, like, if they do decide to bring in a variant in the future, I'm sure he can think of something good. So,
100%. And that's, and you know, go ahead, my bad.
yeah, because right now, grief is guiding everyone's judgment right now. But I think just give it a couple of years when everyone's got a cooler head about things, we can get something good if they do decide to recast with the multiverse.
Yeah, I agree. I trust Ryan Coogler, and that's part of why I'm a little less critical, or I'm not as like, you know, I agree with Recast T'Challa, but I'm not in the middle of it because I still trust Coogler and his team to put something good together, even if it's not what everybody exactly wants. He's a good movie. He makes good movies. He directs good movies. He writes good. Like, he's good. He's talented. So with him at the helm of it, we've got to at least give it a chance, no matter what they tell me before anything comes out. I've got to at least give it a shot. Now, if we see it and it's not good, or we don't like it, or we feel like it's clearly missing something, or they missed the mark, then we can all have our criticisms and stuff like that.
Yeah, as long as you keep it civil.
And that's my only thing. That's my biggest thing. I don't want hey, we don't like that movie, so we're going to start disrespecting Ryan Coogler, or we're going to start disrespecting our Black actors and actresses that are in this, or the crew that might have made a decision or whatever. Like, I just don't want it to reach that level of toxicity, of disrespect, of, you know, acting like, oh, he should never direct something again. No. We don't want to do that with the couple of us that get a chance on this level. Like, it's not even a bunch of us that are on this Ryan Coogler level that get to make these type of movies, these big blockbuster films. A lot of us don't get these chances. Last thing I want is us as a community, just Black people, dragging him through the mud because we don't agree with decisions that were made, regardless of why you don't agree.
Yeah, I know. And the thing is, like, yes, even being good directors can make bad movies sometimes. Patty Jenkins, but
big one.
Yeah, but Ryan Coogler, like, he's also going to be focusing on producing after this is done. Like, he's got a couple of Wakanda themed projects in the pipeline for Disney Plus that he's producing. So, and like, a Black man getting a bag, a Black person getting a bag at the end of the day is always a good thing in my book. So, even though I'm kind of skeptical on how he's handling T'Challa right now, like, I want to see him succeed. I do. I really do.
That's the important part that I want from this. This wasn't meant to be a long video or anything, but that is the important thing I kind of want from this, is like, yo, just respect the people in here. You don't got to agree with their decisions. You can criticize their decisions all you want, by all means, voice your opinions, but just don't let it reach a level of disrespect. Because at the end of the day, this is still at least from what I've seen, a majority Black cast, a majority Black crew, and they're still making money. Like, it's still Black people. You don't want to start, not seeing the movie or don't support it or whatever, and now you got a bunch of Black people who, don't get me wrong, they made some money or whatever, but now, whatever their, movie deals and, theater deals and all that stuff, now they're not going to make as much. Like, you don't want to.
That.
Say that again.
Like Black people in Hollywood won't get chance after chance like white folks do. Like, Ryan Reynolds kept starring in flops over and over again until Deadpool was made. Yep. But if a Black person it just has one flop, that could be the end of it.
That could be the end of you if you don't have enough of a track record in your pocket, if you don't have the right connections, if you're not in the right studio, in the right, reading and writing rooms, all that type of stuff. Yeah, you're not going. If you don't have somebody kind of behind you, really, if you don't have enough of a crew, it's not going to work.
Yeah, and plus with the movement, like, it's gained international attention.
Yeah,
like E-Man, like, he's been getting interviewed by these big news outlets and even some big international outlets. So, like, there's a lot of attention on Recast T'Challa than there has been on previous fan movements, because this one is actually kind of legit, instead of just a one of just fan entitlement like the Snyder Cut thing.
Right.
So we know all eyes are on us. So it's imperative. We know it's important to just keep things civil, stay on brand, and stay on message, because I keep telling this to some of my peers in the movement, like all it takes is one wrong move and you can forget about seeing T'Challa again. So
yeah, you go too hard, you push too much, you disrespect the wrong people, and people say, yo, we're just gonna scrap it.
yeah,
And it could be that fast. So I don't want to see that happen. And even if we don't get T'Challa to come back in the next two, Black Panther, Wakanda movies, whatever you want to call them, in this trilogy, setup, I still think the movement can have, impact. I still think it can come to fruition, even if it's not right here where maybe we want it. So, and like you said, he's producing those other shows and stuff like that. There's plenty of chances in that they could even pull in a variant there. There's so many different places where they could introduce this idea. Who knows? So
yeah, exactly.
yeah, I'm glad I got you on here to just kind of clear some of that stuff up, because I didn't know there was like a central leader, which is a big deal. And I'm just glad that, we're on the same page as well. I always figured we were anyway, but glad that we're on the same page as well with that message of like, yo, don't let it get to this point, because that's what's going to make people turn away from it. That's what's going to make people feel like, oh, these people are being weird. You're it's like you said, that entitlement. It's the fan entitlement, which is the same thing with the Snyder Cut. I wanted the Snyder Cut, but the way people were demanding and making it seem like we have to get it was like, yo, I mean, they don't have to release anything. They don't have to give it. So.
T'Challa, it's like I said, it's not a demand, it's a statement, and it's all coming from a place of love at the end of the day. Like we want to see these people succeed, but at the same time, like there is a way to let T'Challa live on in the MCU and to honor Chadwick at the same time. Like there is, like we don't need to make see the character die again,
Yeah, no, I agree. I 100% agree, man. Well, John, thanks for coming on with me, man. Thanks for helping me clear up some of this recast T'Challa stuff. Thanks for letting me get some of the thoughts and stuff I'd seen out. I appreciate it. Always appreciate you jumping on here.
Anytime.
Our last one did pretty well too, actually. A lot of people jumped on that. We're really excited to see recast T'Challa last time as well. That might be one of our best videos on YouTube still, actually, now that I think about it. Because that was up there. People really wanted to see you talk about T'Challa. Yeah, it's still doing pretty. It still does pretty well. Some people still check into it. So hopefully people check into this. Hopefully people take something from it and maintain respectful as you go about spreading this message, because I do think it's a good one. We just don't want to see it slip into more toxic side. So
right.
John, thanks for joining. Everybody out there, thank you for listening. Two ugly nerds, but there's only one of us today. Plus John, man, it's a cute guy right there, man.
All right.
Peace.